Hello, friends. I'm Ross Bolin, and this is my show. Thank you for being here. The Ross Bolin Podcast. It's changed a lot over the years since its inception in 2018. We've done many hundreds of episodes. I stopped counting after 500, and there have been many distinct chapters in this show's existence, as those of you who have been longtime listeners well know. And as we approach the end of another calendar year, I've spent a lot of time assessing what I want the next chapter of this show to look like. And when I started RBP, I did so with the intention of creating a community of listeners that could identify with my own personal struggles, life journey, and experiences. And as someone who has struggled with mental health since I turned 21 years old, I wanted to talk about more serious things like anxiety and depression and also relationship struggles and real life shit. Real life shit, but with my own personal brand of humor infused throughout. I wanted to talk about the things that matter most to me, but do it in a fun way. You know, like a cool uncle or something. I wanted to address things that men, in particular, typically keep quiet about and suppress deep down until it causes us to be self-destructive animals. Rather than being preachy or condescending, as is often the case with self-improvement podcasts and speakers, I wanted to be vulnerable and authentic. And for a long time, I accomplished this goal. But then, much like Will Smith in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, my life got turned upside down. Since the downfall of the company at which this show was first a part of in 2019 and the end of my first marriage shortly thereafter, I have been through a lot. I have grown a lot, and the show has changed a lot, partially as a result of all of the big movements and changes and turmoil in my life. And I say all of that to say this. I am not going to do random news stories anymore on this podcast starting now. Right now. Because any doofus can talk about the Hawk Tuah meme coin or the United Healthcare CEO being assassinated or the New Jersey drone situation. And even if those things are interesting to me, focusing on those things for entire segments of this podcast does nothing to differentiate this show from the endless cesspool of bad takes and unnecessary discussion that the world of podcasting has become. So this show is going to go back to being a place of personal expression for me, a place to talk about the things I genuinely care about, things I am actually invested in that matter most to me, things that I think are legitimately important, things that I believe that I have a unique or interesting perspective on, like the responsibility of returning your shopping cart to the corral or two-hole maintenance. So no, this does not mean I want the show to become self-serious all the time. The first goal has always been to be entertaining. I like making people laugh and smile and feel good. I don't really want to talk about anything that I can't insert comedy into in some way, shape, or form, but I have to get back to my roots, to what made this show great in the first place, by using this as a platform to connect with people over real life experiences, real shit, and yes, sometimes insanely silly observations about humanity and our existence on this spinning globe, or stuff to Wikipedia when you're high, or awesome animal facts, or whatever. But no more dumbass news stories that you'll get more than enough bad takes and jokes about on social media. That does nothing for me. It does nothing for you. And doesn't make sense for this show anymore if I want to continue to see it succeed, which I do. And as Matthew McConaughey famously said in a Lincoln commercial, sometimes you got to go back to actually move forward. So as we approach 2025, that is what I will be doing with the Ross Bolin podcast starting today. So if there is some real shit, some real life shit, some good shit you want me to talk about on this show, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on social media at WRBolin or email at rossbolinpodcast.com and let me know. Producer Kade and I will still be getting goofy together and responding to absurd hotline calls from our listeners every week on patreon.com/Ross Bolin podcast. But for now, I will be doing RBP's publicly available episodes solo while I navigate this show back to what I always wanted it to be. Speaking of which, one of the ways my life has drastically changed over the past several years is obviously that I've become a parent, a father. I have a son who will turn 2 and a stepdaughter who will turn 6 in February. And while I have experienced a lot of different challenges and circumstances that have molded me into who I am today, nothing has more profoundly changed my trajectory or the way I look at the world quite like becoming a dad, which every parent can identify with on some level. But people always say, like, your heart grows multiple sizes like the Grinch when you become a parent and you find a new level of love you didn't know was possible. And I always thought that was kind of cheesy and probably half bullshit, but those people are absolutely correct. Like the love and joy I feel with my kids absolutely wrecks all other versions of love and joy I have ever experienced. It is a soul-altering love and responsibility that if you are capable of embracing, I know will change you for the better in ways you never imagined. It's really intimidating. Like, to a certain extent, when you're first realizing this, that the change is inevitable, it is scary. Especially in my case when I had been through so much change in the years leading up to becoming a dad and first a stepdad that I was like, oh God, more? Like, I got to do more work on me and I got to change more and become more serious about life and like what I want to accomplish and my legacy and how I operate on a day-to-day, even hour-to-hour basis, week to week, month to month. Like, it was intimidating. It was really intimidating. And at some point after the first, I want to say really like probably around the time my son hit 6 months old, it got a little easier. And it got easier to accept that I needed to embrace this and not run from it. And I kind of hit this fork in the road where I saw where unfortunately some parents go left and decide, no, I'm not going to reprioritize my life. I'm not going to change the way I look at the world. I'm not going to let this profound love reshape me as a human being. And I went right and decided to embrace it and to run with it and to take it all for what it is and try to, you know, milk the cow of life until it's empty. If that analogy makes any sense. I don't know how others got into my brain just now, but that intimidation faded away. And once I had embraced it for enough months in a row, I started to see the benefit of chasing taking that right and embracing that pressure and moving through that intimidation. And I have abandoned an astonishing amount of bad habits, toxic thought processes, and just piss poor coping mechanisms since becoming a stepdad and then a dad, because I know my family deserves the best possible version of me. And then on another level, I know that I deserve the best possible version of me. And over the past really 5 years, since 2019, when things really took a turn for me, it was the first opportunity I've had in my life to kind of reshape myself in the way I see fit. And to stop doing things that just because I think they're like cool or that they're going to be, you know, the thing that other people think is the best version of me. Like, now I do things based on what is best for my family. My kids and my wife serve as a compass for me to find my way, because life is crazy. Like, the longer you live, the more you realize just how insane this whole experience is, because you're trying to navigate your own shit, your own stuff, your own morals, your own values, your own career, your own personal life, your own social life. And at the same time, there's all this chaos occurring worldwide that is constantly in our faces now in the age of the internet and social media and the 24-hour news cycle. And there's more distractions now for human beings than there have ever been. And that is without argument. Whether you see the internet as a net positive or a net negative, the internet and the age of technology has provided us with more distractions than any other generation or century or millennium of human existence has ever had to deal with. And that, by and large, if you don't learn how to deal with it, is definitely a net negative. Because there are things that matter and there are things that are truly important. And then there's all this other bullshit that we get distracted by and fixate on that really is just there to throw us off our game. And that's one thing that's super amazing about having kids and becoming a parent, is that you have this infallible compass. Like, what is best for these little people that I am raising, that I created, and how do I go that direction? And then stick with it. And how do I not get thrown off course? And how do I continue to grow and evolve as a man so that my kids benefit? And then in the end, what you end up finding is that, like, not only do your kids benefit, you benefit greatly by becoming this better version of yourself. And I've been on a path of self-improvement for a long time, really since 2017. So, like, coming up on 8 years. And, 2017 is when I really started to take it seriously and started making decisions like quitting drinking that put me in a position to where I could eventually get to where I am now and be good at it. And it's tough, man. It really is. And I mean, this world can be a dark, cruel and cold place, but there's something about just knowing that my kids are out there, even when I'm not with them, that has introduced a level of light and warmth into my life that has transformed my entire existence. And I always, on some level, knew that this was a possibility. And I've experienced little doses of it, versions of it, even with my dogs, as silly as that may sound. But the way I love my dogs and the way that they changed me was sort of like a microdose of what parenting would do. So I had this in mind, that it was possible, but until you experience it yourself, like so many things, you can't really have it explained to you. It's hard anyway. Like in one of the first episodes of this podcast ever, I shared my experience doing acid when I was 18. And that's not really a thing you can I can tell you what happened and what my experience was, but it doesn't make you understand it unless you've experienced it yourself. And that is not an endorsement that everybody should go do LSD. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that there's things in life that you cannot write down or tell a story to somebody else and have them fully comprehend what it is that you're experiencing. And that is definitely the case with parenthood and the level of love that you have for your kids when you have them. In that vein, I have begun to do my annual rewatching of all the Christmas classics, all the classic Christmas movies, starting with Home Alone. And holy shit, Peter and Kate McAllister were truly terrible parents. I mean, just awful. I started to realize this last year when my son was, 9 months old at that point, probably. But I am now incapable of watching Home Alone without hyperfixating on all the god-awful parenting decisions these people make and parenting tactics they utilize. Just in the first 20 minutes, okay? At the very beginning of the movie, their 8-year-old son, Kevin, this is an 8-year-old, 8. He gets upset because everyone ate all the cheese pizza. And that's what 8-year-olds do when things don't go their way. They get upset, right? And his big brother, Buzz, is tormenting him. So Kate McAllister, Kevin, the 8-year-old's mom, Kate, without allowing him to eat dinner or offering an alternative form of sustenance, he's just like, "Where's the cheese pizza?" And Buzz is like, "Oh, we ate it all. We're going to have to barf it back up if you want any." And then he fake hurls onto a plate, and then Kevin pushes him, and then all the shit gets knocked over on the table, and then his uncle calls him a little jerk. She's just like, "Nope, that's it." Drags him upstairs to the 3rd floor of their house, where he is forced into the attic alone for the night, and she encourages him. His mom encourages him as an 8-year-old to wish that his family would disappear. What? Then, the next morning, after a power outage causes their alarm clocks to not go off, because this is pre-iPhone. You have your phone alarm right there. Peter and Kate McAllister, they leave for an international flight to Paris for the holidays with like 20 other relatives. They put their teenage daughter in charge of doing a head count to make sure that everybody makes it into the vans. And that's the only form of checking in on all their kids that they do. They tell the teenager, who we all know are the most responsible individuals on earth, to do a fucking head count and make sure that all the kids are there. And that's the only form of checking on the kids they do. Next thing you know, they're on the fucking plane drinking champagne. And they leave their 8-year-old son behind and forget that they stuck him in the attic the night before, where he wakes up, wanders downstairs, and finds his home to be empty. And obviously, these glaring issues are accentuated by the fact that a very similar mishap happens the very next Christmas. One calendar later, when they fly to Florida, and Kevin ends up in New York City alone. And I know it was the 1990s, and this is just a funny holiday film franchise, but Child Protective Services should have been called on Peter and Kate McAllister because they were garbage. They are negligent and borderline abusive parents who undoubtedly caused their son Kevin incalculable trauma, which we will have to address through many, many years of therapy later in life. Like, I've dealt with serious abandonment issues myself, and my parents never left me home alone for days on end to battle burglars with booby traps while they traveled abroad. That never happened to me. So I can only imagine what Kevin McAllister is going to go through later in life. And again, I ask, why does a wealthy woman dripping in Burberry with a mansion in the suburbs of Chicago whose husband can afford to fly like 20 people to Paris for the holidays have a fake Rolex? That scene bugs me every time. She's literally got like a Burberry coat on, and she's trying to barter with this woman who's boarding a flight to trade her plane tickets in exchange for like a pair of earrings, some other random shit she's got on her, and then she throws in her Rolex, and the lady is like, "Is that real?" And she's like, "Does it look real?" And she said, "Do you think it's real?" And she's like, "No." And she's like, "But who can tell?" So her fucking watch is fake? Something doesn't quite add up with the McAllisters, all right? And I can't be the only parent who grew up watching Home Alone who now spends the majority of the time that they are viewing that movie thinking about how terrible Peter and Kate are and judging them to the betterment of my own parenting self-esteem, I might add. Speaking of the holiday season, often the people we love and they're the ones that are the hardest to shop for, right? I never know what to get my parents, for example. Luckily for the RBP gang, this year, there's one gift that everyone on your list is sure to enjoy, an Aura digital picture frame. And today's episode is brought to you by Aura Frames, our newest sponsor. Named the best digital photo frame by Wirecutter, Aura Frames make it incredibly easy to share unlimited photos and videos directly from your phone to the frame. And when you give an Aura frame as a gift, you can personalize and preload it with a thoughtful message and photos using the Aura app, making it an ideal present for long-distance loved ones. It's a gift so special that you'll use it every day. I cannot think of a more perfect holiday gift for parents or grandparents. My parents and my mother-in-law are all getting Aura frames for Christmas this year. Not only can you preload the frame with photos so it's ready to rock, like right out of the box, like when they unwrap it and plug it in, bam, they're going to have your photos right there already. But you can also use the Aura app to add photos to your own frame or your parents' or your grandparents' frame when you've got new pictures to share, so that they're able to see new photos of you, your kids, your dogs, your family, whatever you've got going on. Like if your parents are at work, you could load up their frame with new photos before they get home, and when they get home, they'll see them scrolling across their Aura frame. And this way, for me personally, I'm not having to constantly spam my family group text with photos of my kids every week. I can just add them to my parents' Aura frames using the app, and bing, bop, boom, boom, bop, bam, their new photos are rotating through. Your family members can even like your photos and add comments to them using the app. And this thing has unlimited storage, by the way. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know how unlimited storage could possibly be a thing, but it's true. It's magic. It's Aura Frames, baby. I've got my own Aura frame loaded up with photos of me and my family, and most recently I added in, we do annual photos in this field behind my house that also get, secondary use as our Christmas card. Got those in there, scrolling through. Could not have been easier to add photos to this thing. Setup took under 5 minutes. It's beautiful. You can add videos to your frame too, which I had no idea was a thing. I'm excited to be able to do that. Just so you can be walking by in your kitchen, and if you got your frame in there, you could see some special life moment that you recorded or whatever. For those of you who have dogs or kids or any pets, really, you know how many photos of them and videos of them you take that like you never go back and watch again. Well, you can load them up on your Aura frame and there. Now they're getting good use. Save on the perfect holiday gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames by using promo code BOLIN at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code BOLIN. This deal is exclusively for the RBP gang, so get yours now in time for the holidays. Terms and conditions apply. Link and code in the description of this episode. And on a technology-related note, now I have to make a public service announcement. You do not need the new iPhone. Somebody had to say it, and I am that somebody. For at least a decade, I've been upgrading to the new iPhone every time a new one comes out, like a lot of you do, right? It used to be a fun thing to look forward to every year, like back in the glory days of the Apple iPhone. There was usually at least one new feature that I was like, oh, I have to have that shit, that like completely transformed the phone having experience. Plus, if you're a part of the iPhone like upgrade program Apple has been doing for years, they pepper you with emails and text messages every time the new phone drops, like time for you to do your upgrade. So you inevitably cave and trade yours in for the new one that costs like an additional $15 a month or whatever it ends up being, which is how they get me. But for years now, really for many years, staying constantly upgraded to the most updated iPhone has become less and less and less worth it. Which is why Apple, who knows this, and it's probably known far before we did, they're starting to finally move away from their annual product release cycle because it's no longer effective. More and more of us are realizing what I am blatantly stating to you now, which is that you don't need it. You don't need the new one. Yours is fine. Yours is fine. I saw a commercial yesterday for a mobile company, which will not be named because they'd have to cut the check for that. They're not a sponsor. You don't get named. Everybody knows that. But it was a commercial on the television for a mobile service, you know, tech, whatever. Why am I having trouble describing what like there's AT&T, there's T-Mobile, there's all these. It was one of those, and the deal they had was that you could go get an iPhone 12. An iPhone 12 with unlimited data for like under $90 or something like that. I can't remember what the exact deal was. It doesn't matter. The point is they're giving away fucking iPhone 12s. That's 4 phones ago. This is the 16. You could have the 12 and be perfectly fine. That's my point. And gone are the days where like if you fall 2 phones behind, your phone completely stops working. Because they got busted for that. They're probably still doing it on some level, and I think we all know it. Like my AirPods have just suddenly stopped working because I've had them for 2 years, and they need me to go get new ones so that they can continue pumping fucking money into their stockholders' hands, which I get it. It's capitalism. But at the same time, it's like, don't push it too far. Don't screw us. And they were doing that for a long time. They were screwing us. This Apple MacBook Air I've got in front of me is holding on for dear fucking life. There are points in the day where it sounds like I'm walking around with an aircraft carrier. It is insanely loud, like an airplane engine. That's how the fan gets going, trying to keep itself alive. And that, I swear to God, that's programmed into it. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm pretty fucking confident. But you don't need the new iPhone. They're giving away iPhone 12s. You don't need a 16. You just don't. Now, that being said, I upgraded to the iPhone 16 Pro Max earlier this week because my iPhone 15 Pro Max had a cracked screen. And Apple kept hammering me with those emails and text messages. And then eventually one night I was bored and I gave in. And I'm not proud of it. And I knew it wouldn't be worth it. I knew it was stupid. I knew. I made that mistake for all of you so that I could come here today and tell you, no, you don't need the new iPhone 16. That's why I did it. There is a little button on the side that allows you to more easily access the camera and take photos. And the screen is slightly larger than it was on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. That's all I've found so far. I've had it for 2 days. Oh, I guess there's like AI or something. There's some AI involved in some way, shape, or form. I haven't stumbled across the AI yet, though. The artificial intelligence. Wasn't Siri always some form of AI? What, right? No? But there's AI. I know that from the commercials. But you don't need this shit. Don't be like me. Don't be like me. Do as I say, not as I do. Don't give in. Fight the machine. Be strong. Remaining in the lane of technology, I want to give you an example that perfectly encapsulates part of the big problem with social media these days, Twitter in particular. I was recently scrolling Twitter, which, again, I do not recommend, when I stumbled across a take so profoundly pompous that I nearly puked. So this woman, Lauren Wilford, tweeted, "Fresh out of the anniversary screening on IMAX, some loose thoughts on Interstellar, a great American novel of a film, and for my money, the greatest space movie ever made." Now, that's not the pompous tweet I'm referencing. This is the starting point of the story. So she tweets that. For her money, the greatest space movie ever made. And, she turned that into a thread, which is fine. That's fine. Go on there. Share your opinions. Everybody share away. But then someone quote tweeted that tweet I just read you and said, "Rewatched recently, and it might be the most reactionary film I've seen in a long time." And when someone replied, "Please expand on this. I really like this movie, so I'm curious what you mean exactly," he did expand on it. This pompous fuck's name is at Cement Erie. I don't know. Cement something. It doesn't matter. You're not going to go follow. But this is what they said about Interstellar. This is the take that I found to be so disgusting that I almost yacked. And I quote, "It sets up the future as an opportunity to redo the 1930s and fix collapse through doing Cold War even harder, and legitimates itself in a kind of insane technocratic calculus that sells its insane hyper-Americanist, neo-imperial, effective altruist bullshit as morally righteous." I stared at this for minutes, just trying to put myself in this person's shoes. Like, it's one thing to have thoughts like that, but to type them out and think that this is something I want to put out into the world. I cannot wrap my head around how you get to that place. And I'll read it again. This is about the movie Interstellar, starring Matthew McConaughey, by Christopher Nolan. "It sets up the future as an opportunity to redo the 1930s and fix collapse through doing Cold War even harder, and legitimates itself in a kind of insane technocratic calculus that sells its insane hyper-Americanistic, neo-imperial, effective altruist bullshit as morally righteous." I just can't even. So here are the best replies, because I can't outdo some of these. "Oh my God, bro, please go outside." Which is the perfect reply, frankly, but I'll continue. Another one says, "This is the most exhausting tweet I've ever read," and I couldn't agree more. It was like, if you've ever watched What We Do in the Shadows, the concept of the energy vampire, somebody who goes around and just sucks the energy out of other people with this shit that comes out of their mouths. That's what this tweet did to me. It took like days off of my life, just reading these words. Next reply said, "Jesus Christ, dude, go to a bar and play some pool and talk to a woman." Sound advice. Doesn't have to be a bar, but sound advice. Someone else said, "No exaggeration, this might be the worst sentence of all time." I tend to agree. Someone else said, "Holy shit, dude. I'm also a fan of words. I love words. Fuck yeah, dude. Words rock. I love saying random words too." Which is how anytime I have a real problem with people whose vibe, if your brand is making sure that other people know how smart you are, you're an asshole. You're an asshole. I try to dumb things down as much as possible a lot of the time when I talk, because what the fuck is the point of using a bunch of words that nobody knows? Nobody knows. If you're talking about the film Interstellar, starring Matthew McConaughey from the Lincoln ads, the all right guy, the "it'd be a lot cooler if you did" guy, the "they stay the same age" guy, and you're using words like hyper-Americanist, neo-imperial, altruist, technocratic calculus, you took a wrong turn at one of the forks in the road along the path of life to get you to that point. Just watch the fucking movie, go, sick, and then move on, bro. Hyper-Americanist, neo-imperial, effective, altruist bullshit. Those are not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are not 5 words you should string together at any given point if you are trying to communicate effectively. If I have to use a dictionary or a thesaurus to figure out the message you are attempting to convey, you have failed. People who talk like this should be slapped upside the head. Put your fucking phone down and go outside and touch grass. Another reply was, I wish I could undo reading this. You gotta get outside once in a while. I promise you fresh air is very nice. And then last reply, this is the worst piece of text I have ever read in my life. Actually angry about how bad it is. Now, none of those replies are me, by the way. I didn't reply. I just quote tweeted his tweet and said, this is about the film Interstellar, because I just couldn't believe, like, dude, it's just like, I want to know his thoughts on Tenet now, though. I'll say that. I might have to throw him a follow. But the last reply I read, I agree with. Like, it made me angry. And this is the kind of thing that when you're scrolling social media, you don't consider. Like, it's all fun and games until you stumble across this asshole's review of Interstellar and it ruins your night. That it's not just all sports highlights and funny dog videos and boobs. This guy is out there ruining Twitter for the rest of us with his abysmal takes on things. Why? I guess because it's in IMAX again. Everybody's talking about Interstellar again. But like, look, if you don't like Interstellar, just go fuck yourself and leave the rest of us alone. It's a great movie. You don't have to burrow in to the... What is doing Cold War even harder even mean? The film at no point is country versus country the way the Cold War was between us and Russia. It's just mankind trying to survive because blight has destroyed the crops, and probably the cops, so they gotta go to outer space. It's pretty fucking straightforward, man. Doing Cold War even harder? I digress. But this is the danger of social media. Look at what it's doing to me. I'm upset. And I already knew about all this. This is just me communicating it to y'all. I read this shit yesterday. I wrote the segment yesterday, and now I'm fired up again because what the fuck is he talking about? Oh my God, bro. Please go outside. I am absolutely crushing FitBod workouts still. I've been doing it all year. I'm 270 deep. Nobody can stop me from getting huge. And if you're looking for a new fitness routine to get huge or just get in shape, today's sponsor, FitBod, is your personal trainer in your pocket. There's probably very few more positive additions you could make in your life as we near the end of 2024 to get you going in a positive direction for 2025 the way FitBod could. And if you think that sounds insane, just listen up. From a core that won't quit to arms worth flexing, FitBod is the perfect companion to keep your exercises fresh and yourself accountable. With your personal goals in focus, FitBod customizes every workout and adapts as you improve so you can avoid plateaus on your journey, which for anybody who's ever worked out on any level is aware, that's the thing you want to avoid, plateaus. So whether you are a seasoned gym goer or you're just starting your fitness journey, FitBod is right for you. I've done over 270 of these things for I think I'm over 2 years now, or I'm coming up on the 2-year mark. And every once in a while I'll get like, it provides you with all these different exercises. One of my issue working out over the years was that I would always do the same stuff. I basically had 2 different workouts I would do. One was like arms and chest and shoulders, and the other was like legs and back, and that was it. And I would just do the same cycle of workouts every week. And like after several months, really into the multiple years of me doing this, I plateaued. Nothing was really happening. I wasn't building any more muscle. I wasn't gaining any muscle weight. I wasn't really burning any fat. I wasn't getting bigger. I wasn't getting stronger. It was just like I was just maintaining, which is frankly not good enough. But one of my favorite FitBod features is that if you come across an exercise you're not comfortable with, like every once in a while, it'll throw handstand push-ups into my workout, and I'm like, I'm 37 in my garage alone. This is not a good idea. But it allows you to simply replace that particular exercise with another one that hits the same muscle group so that you're still getting done what you had planned for that day. Another one of my favorite features is that they provide you with a text description and a video of each movement so you are never lost. If you come across an exercise you're unfamiliar with or you don't know how to do it, the Fitbod app provides you with a video of a human being doing that exercise from multiple angles so you can see exactly what it's supposed to look like. And then in conjunction with that, you've got text so you can read it if you're more of like a learner that needs to read things, whatever that word is to describe that kind of person. But yeah, before I started using Fitbod, I was doing the same workouts every time for years. That mundane repetition wasn't really doing shit. I plateaued very hard. Since I started using Fitbod a couple years ago, though, I have legitimately like transformed my body. Like it is the best. I'm not bragging. I'm not trying to, I'm not going to pop my top in here and show off or anything, but like it's the best I've ever looked without a shirt on. And without pants on. And that's all thanks to Fitbod because it has completely transformed me. Best shape of my life. Completely avoided dad bod so far, which is huge. It's one of the main reasons I started doing it. I was like, I gotta up my fitness game. I gotta actually commit to this. I want to try to get abs one time before I die. Just one time. Fitbod is helping me do that. So it is an essential part of my life. No exaggeration. It is the future of fitness. It has everything you wish those other apps had. It's honestly been one of the most positive additions I've ever made to my life. Maybe my favorite sponsor this show has ever had. I've gone way over a minute talking about them because that's how much I legitimately love Fitbod. And they've been a great supporter of our show as well. So lock in and stay focused. Join Fitbod today to get your personalized workout plan. Get 25% off your subscription or try the app free for 7 days when you go to fitbod.me/Ross. That's fitbod.me/Ross. 25% off if you decide to get a subscription, but just put that in your back pocket for now. You can try this thing for 7 days for free. For 7 days, you can get in there, go in, set your stuff up, let you pick like what your fitness goals are. It just takes a couple of minutes. You pick which equipment you have available to you, and you don't even have to have any. It will serve you up a workout that is comprised entirely of body weight stuff, like push-ups and whatnot, and air squats and stuff. Like if that's what you've got, that's what you've got. But you can see how it works. Use the 7-day free trial. If you love it, you get 25% off your subscription when you go to fitbod.me/Ross. And I promise you, if you're actually looking to do some positive stuff in your fitness journey, Fitbod, you will love it. And there you go. How about that? Moving on. The holidays, they're upon us. I'm not sure if you've picked up on that from today's show so far, if you haven't had a calendar or if you just got back from being deserted on an island like Tom Hanks in Castaway or something like that. But the holidays are here, and they can be a challenging time for so many of us. And for so many different reasons, between the financial pressures of providing for your family, which are amplified when you have kids, I might add, and all the shopping and traveling and trying to close out the year strong while being haunted by the ghosts of Christmases past. The last several weeks of the year, it can be a real beating. If you let them, they can be a real beating. And I have found that the more like adversity and strife you have faced over the course of the calendar, the heavier the holidays can be. If you've had a tough year, if you've experienced a lot of loss or pain and suffering or personal challenges, like when you get to the holidays, it's a time of reflection after all, where we're almost forced to check in with ourselves and on how we're doing and how our lives are unfolding and what we think about all that. And you can get down really easily, and like happens to I want to say, like I would guess, I don't have this a fact checker, but I would guess the majority of people experience the toughest part of their year the last several weeks of the year. The majority. Because that's the way it unfolds. So if you find yourself down, depressed, or suffering this holiday season, I implore you to focus on all the positives this season has to offer as well. You got to lock in on the good things in life. You got to lock in on the good things in your life. The things that make you smile, the people that make you laugh, the love, the joy, the light. And you got to focus on those things. And this is a hard-learned lesson for me. I'm a very easily distracted person. I always have been. I probably always will be. It's an everyday struggle to stay focused on the shit that is actually important. And if you allow yourself to fixate on all the bad shit that happened this year, all the negativity, the fact that you didn't accomplish everything you wanted to because no one ever does, by the way, the things you don't have, the losses you've experienced. If you focus on all that stuff, yeah, you're going to be miserable. You're going to have a bad time. So don't do that. Don't do that. I have done that. It sucks. You don't have to do that. If you're doing it right now, I'm serious. Just go look at yourself in the mirror and go, I'm not going to do this anymore. Because you don't have to. And it's a personal decision that only you can make. Only you can change that. Which once you realize that and you take back your own power, it's the best you'll ever feel. It's extremely empowering. So, don't focus on the bad stuff, because as bad parent Kate McAllister said in Home Alone, Christmas is the season of perpetual hope. So focus on that. Harness the good, block out the bad. And when the bad is overwhelming and you feel like you can't block it out, harness that and focus on bettering yourself and your situation so the next holiday season you can look back at all the hard work you've done and be proud of yourself. I've had to do that before. You know, the Christmas of 2019 was one of the lowest points in my life. I was a wreck. I had just started my own company, was in the beginning phases of a divorce. I had no idea what I was going to do next. In a lot of ways, I felt like I had failed. You know, I felt like I had failed in my career. I felt like I had failed as a family man. I felt like I didn't know if I would ever get another shot at being a family man or having my own family or getting married again or having kids, or if Bolin Media would work, or if I'd even get to do what I love doing in the form of this podcast and the other shit we do anymore. I felt like I was done. There wasn't a lot of positivity for me. You know, I was also perpetually stoned at that point because I felt so shitty about my circumstances. I didn't want to be sober. I didn't want to have to look myself in the mirror. I barely could. There was a long stretch there, 2019 into 2021, really, where when I looked at myself in the mirror, I experienced what a lot of people call depersonalization or what's the other word? Disassociation. I didn't even recognize myself. I couldn't even look myself in the eye. I was ashamed. I was sad. I was broken. And I didn't know what to do. And I remember telling myself, next year's not going to be like this for me. I'm not going to get to Christmas of 2020 and feel like this. And guess what? I didn't. You know, it wasn't a full turnaround yet. I wasn't where I wanted to be in Christmas of 2020, but I was a hell of a lot better off than I was in Christmas of 2019. You know, at that point I had met my now wife. We were dating. You know, she had a beautiful daughter that I was getting to start a relationship with as well. And things had started to kind of turn around for me. And by 2021, Christmas of 2021, I felt even better about where I was at. Christmas of 2022, I believe at that point, my wife was, we were pregnant. We had gotten married. We had gotten pregnant. She was very pregnant. My son was due in February. And at that point, the turnaround was pretty complete. Last year's Christmas, 2023. In the span of 5 Christmases, my life could not be more different than it was in Christmas of 2019 to Christmas of 2024. It could not be more. It could be, obviously. It could always be more different. But it's crazy, shocking how much has changed for me personally and professionally and spiritually and emotionally, and the amount of growth that I've been able to harness and embrace. It's crazy. It's fucking crazy. And the point is this. If you're down, if you feel shitty about your circumstances or what you accomplished or didn't accomplish this year or what you went through or didn't go through or what the fuck you've got going on, it doesn't matter. It doesn't define you. You define you. And you define, what you think about yourself matters so much more, infinitely more than what anybody else thinks about you. And you can change all that. You can change these things and work toward a better version. And you want to be able to look back and appreciate all the hard work you've done and be proud of yourself. So you focus on making your situation better for the next Christmas. It's the best thing about Christmas. If you take all the religion and the presents and the capitalism out of it, it gives you an opportunity as a checkpoint to make sure. It's sort of like birthdays do this sort of as well, but I've always found Christmas to be a much more powerful version of it. It's a checkpoint. You check in with yourself. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Where can I change? How can I improve? And without beating your own ass and using all the negativity against yourself, because I promise you that doesn't do anything either. I'm an expert at that, expert level self-hater. But don't allow the holiday season to be something that you submit to. You don't just give in to the sadness. That's where you get depressed, and that's where things get scary. I've done that too. Like it or not, we are all individually in charge of our own happiness, our own fulfillment, our own destiny. It's not nobody can come in and fix you or fix your situation or hand you happiness. It's not a thing. I used to think it was a thing and hope it was a thing and hope somebody would do it for me. It isn't going to happen though. And the longer you wait, the more suffering you'll endure, the harder it is to climb back. So if you allow the holiday season or life in general to dictate how you feel about yourself or your circumstances, you're going to have a hard time because too much of what happens to us is outside of our control. The strong majority of it, if not all of it, is out of our control. So if you allow the things that happen to you or your circumstances to dictate how you feel, that's a fucked up roller coaster, man. You don't want to be on that ride. Can't do that. Have to have your own shit. Have to be proactive in self-improvement and shape your life into what you want it to be. I've learned this lesson the hard way time and again. I've used to just constantly feel sorry for myself and get caught up in past mistakes and refuse to take accountability for my own situation. You cannot do that. And social media has made this a million times harder with all the endless comparisons to other people and their lives and their circumstances, which again, I would remind you as I remind myself. If you are struggling, there is no worse place to be than online. There is no worse place to be than on fucking Instagram if you are down and out. So if you're going through it this holiday season, stay off social media, take the necessary steps to dig yourself out of that hole, and get ready to dominate in 2025. Today's episode is also brought to you by Shopify. Batman and Robin, Peanut Butter and Jelly, Bruce and Bella. So what about the perfect duo when it comes to growing your business? That's you and Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet and the not-so-secret secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions by up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. Selling RBP merch has allowed us to provide our fans and listeners with shirts and hats and coffee mugs and, for some reason, puzzles that they can wear and use in real life to show their support for us, and Shopify can be the platform that enables you to connect with your supporters in the same way. I've used Shopify extensively for a couple years, and it is amazing, and it's very, very straightforward. It's the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business, from the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify is there to help you grow. Whether you're selling merchandise for your podcast like us or homemade Christmas decorations, Shopify simplifies selling online and in person so you can focus on successfully growing your business. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. That's what Shopify does. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout used by Allbirds, Rothy's, Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/RBP, all lowercase. To access that $1 per month trial period, go to shopify.com/RBP, all lowercase, to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/RBP. As we were recording, I have received word that the Houston Astros, of which I'm a huge fan, from Houston, born and raised Houstonian, before moving to Austin for work in 2011. Well, really before going to college. That was, I grew up in Houston. That's the point. I was born there. I grew up there. I've been a huge Astros fan my whole life. And one of the Astros' cornerstone players, Kyle Tucker, got traded to actually Dan the ad salesman's baseball team, the Chicago Cubs, as I was recording. And I just want to say, being a sports fan is so stupid. I used to hate on people who made fun of us, the sports fans, the people who, all the dorks and the nerds out there who don't have a sports team or never got into sports or didn't play sports and they think professional sports are a stupid waste of time. I used to think they were just pathetic losers that weren't in on the fun that we were all having. But no, they're right. I'm not going to stop, by the way. But they're right. This is idiotic. I feel like I've lost a member of my family. I don't even know this dude. I've never met this dude, but I have watched him play from, when he first got brought up to the majors. This is a homegrown guy for the Astros. We drafted him. He was in our minor league system. He got brought up to the pros. He struggled for a year or two, then really started to come into his own. And in the last couple of years, he's been a full-fledged bona fide all-star, one of the best right fielders in baseball, Kyle Tucker. And now he's fucking gone, and I'm bummed about it. And after giving this long spiel about like controlling your own circumstances and not letting yourself get down, and now I'm fucking down. And sports are stupid. This is stupid. This is stupid. This is stupid. This is stupid. There's just so much more suffering than there is joy in this game, in the sports fan game, in this life, the sports fan life. It's not even fucking close. The balance is so off. The risk reward is miserable. One team's fan base every year gets to be happy. And it's usually one of the same 5 or 6 fucking cities in all of the major sports. I don't know why we keep doing this. I've been the one that gets to be happy twice now in my lifetime. Well, that's not true. 4 times in my lifetime, but 2 of them, when the Rockets won back-to-back championships in 93, 94, 94, 95, I was like 7 years old. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. It was secondary. I was living vicariously through my dad's joy. I saw how happy he was, and I was like, oh, this good. Sports ball win good. But now I'm balls deep as a grown man, and I'm invested in 3 different teams on an unhealthy level. The Astros, Rockets, and Texans, all of them on an unhealthy level. And the Astros just got me through this period where the Texans and Rockets were fucking miserable for years. And now the Astros are turning into this miserable lane where we're losing guys left and right. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but it's made me unhappy. And all that is to say that being a sports fan is idiotic. This is stupid. It's like I don't know what to compare it to. But I guess it's comparable to life in a lot of ways. Like when it's good, it's great. But when it sucks, boy, it sucks. But I can't quit you, sports. You know? What is that from? Brokeback Mountain. Great film. If you've never heard this story, I'll tell a quick one to wrap up the show today. But one of the other low points in my life was when I was, I think I was still 18, maybe 19. And I had to go home from Texas State University where I had finished my first semester with a .40 GPA because I violated probation, which I was on for getting arrested in high school multiple times, once with a DWI, once with a public intoxication. It was not a good place. It was not a good thing. Anyway, I had to go back home. My parents were like, well, obviously you can't college correctly, so you have to come back and live with us until you've proven you're good to go to school. So I ended up having to live with my dad for a little while. My parents were divorced, and my dad lived in an apartment, and he didn't have a guest room. So for a little while, I was sleeping on a twin-size mattress on the ground in his living room. And one night, I didn't have a lot going on, as you can imagine. And one night, I for some reason, I don't remember if he had this DVD or if I was at like a Blockbuster and was just like, oh, fuck it, I'll get Brokeback Mountain. I'm pretty sure it was in his place. I don't know if he would own up to that. My dad's kind of an artsy guy as far as films and the arts go. He's an artsy guy as far as the arts go. But Brokeback Mountain was available, is the point. It was right there, and we didn't have a living room TV, so there was a portable DVD player. Did you ever have one of these where it was like, it almost looked like these little portable PlayStations do now, but it was, yay big, smaller than a laptop, with a smaller screen than a laptop. In fact, I bet the screen was probably smaller than this fucking iPhone Pro Max 16 Plus or whatever the shit. But I watched Brokeback Mountain on a twin-size mattress. I'm 6'2", on a twin-size mattress on the floor of my dad's apartment living room while I was back home because I got essentially kicked out of college for being a degenerate. And that was a fucking low point, bro. But I was like, this is a good gay movie. It is. Heath Ledger, dude. Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal getting gay? You knew that was going to be a hit. You knew this was before the woke mind virus. That might have started it. That might have been the origin of it. But it was a solid flick. R.I.P. Heath Ledger. Gyllenhaal's still one of my favorite actors, but that's where the line, I can't quit you, comes from. Because they can't quit being gay together. He can't quit him. He can't. Oh shit! I need to watch that again. I was way too immature to handle that movie at that point in my life. I wish I could go back in in a Christmas Carol type situation, like an Ebenezer Scrooge type deal with the Ghost of Christmas Past, and like watch myself watch that movie to see what was going on in my head, because I couldn't tell you. I was sober, like dead sober. Mattress on the ground, portable DVD player, Brokeback Mountain, dude. Real low point. Just weird times. Really weird times. Look at us now. See? You can build back. You got this. So if you're somewhere right now preparing to get onto your floor mattress and watch Brokeback Mountain on a portable DVD player, life can get better. You've got this. You can do this. That'll do it for today's show. Every week, we put out an ad-free, exclusive episode with all new content on patreon.com/Ross Bolin Podcast, where producer Kade and I take hotline calls from the listenership we know as the RBP Gang, and we respond to the insane hypotheticals and prompts and questions that people have for us. It's always a riot on patreon.com/Ross Bolin Podcast, where you can go now and sign up for a 7-day free trial to check out the hundreds of exclusive ad-free episodes we have published there over the last several years. Enjoy that 7-day free trial, and then stick around on Patreon to support our show, help us pay the bills here at Bolin Media. I've got some advice for you. If you're going to do a podcast, don't eat a giant meatball sub right before it. Because I did that, and I've been having to push burps back down my windpipe into my stomach this whole episode. I hope you couldn't tell, but it's been really challenging. Just another challenge to overcome in a life full of them. So don't do that. Patreon.com/Ross Bolin Podcast. Also, support our sponsors. Very important that you support our sponsors. We got some new sponsors like Aura Frames, AURAFrames.com. Use promo code Bolin. Perfect gift this holiday season. $35 off their best-selling Carver mat frames when you use code Bolin. AURAFrames.com. The link is in the description of this episode. Fitbod.me/Ross for 25% off your subscription. Or you can try the app for 7 days free at fitbod.me/Ross. I've been using Fitbod for multiple years now. I shit you not. It is amazing. If you hate it, you can DM me and tell me you hate it and that I suck and don't know what I'm talking about. It's just not going to happen, though, I promise you. And Shopify.com/RBP, all lowercase, to access your $1 per month trial period. Support our sponsors. It's very, very important that you support our sponsors. If not for me, do it for Dan the ad salesman, but also do it for me because I really like doing this show. And I won't get to do it anymore if we don't have any sponsors, bro. It's a rhyme. I did a rhyme. To check out our other shows, go to bolinmedia.com. We've got Jared J-Bone Borislow hosting Formula Bone with all the F1 content your heart could possibly desire, both in season and out of season. In the off season, he does content too, is what I'm saying. Follow Formula Bone at Formula Bone on social media. Watch episodes on youtube.com/@FormulaBone. If you're a Houston sports fan, check out Banging the Can, where next week I will cry about what is hopefully a Texans win over the Dolphins, but more importantly, the Astros trading Kyle Tucker to the Chicago Cubs. And finally, if you are watching Dune Prophecy, we are covering it episodically on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, hosted by myself and Mr. Barrett Dudley, one of my best friends of over 25 years, and we are 4 episodes deep into Dune Prophecy on HBO. It's been solid. Not great, not bad yet, somewhere in the middle. Definitely watchable if you're a fan of the Dune franchise and Timothée Chalamet, but he's not in the TV show, just to be clear. After Dune Prophecy on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, we will be covering Silo Season 2, and then Severance Season 2, and then The White Lotus Season 3. It's going to be a big year, 2025, for OCC, as we call it, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. Check it out. Subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WRBolin. Hit me up. If you got ideas for the show, things you want to hear me talk about, discuss, address, speculate over, please do. Don't send me any stupid links about Haley Welch or the fucking drones in New Jersey. I do not care. It's not that I don't care. This isn't the place or the time. Call Patreon hotline with stuff like that from now on, because as I said at the beginning of today's show, mixing things up a bit here, changing the way we do things for the better. I promise you that. At WR Bolin. Follow me on social media, please. Please. I need somebody to see the pictures I put up of my dogs and kids. and the insane things I tweet out when I've eaten an edible at night. Go to youtube.com/@the-Ross-Bolin-Podcast for full video of our show. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. Do those things that you guys do on YouTube for me. Until next time, remember, you are not alone. Peace be with you, and also with you.